Jesus instructed the church to go out into all the world to preach the gospel, making disciples and teaching them everything I have commanded you. I wonder how many people think about the Great Commission, though, when it comes to the prisons and jails all over the world. Welcome to Crossroad Connection. We're speaking out for those left unheard. My name is David Schuringa. I'm the host of your program, the president of Crossroad Bible Institute. I have in the studio with me today Sandra Chang, who is the international coordinator for Crossroad Bible Institute.
Good morning.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I thought it'd be time for you to be on the show to update our viewers on some really exciting things that are happening on the international scene.
Well, thank you.
And what I'd like to do, start off with, how many satellite campuses do we have around the world right now? That are functioning and emerging and all that.
Should be between 20 and 30.
Okay, and these are on all 6 continents.
Yes.
And just so our viewers understand what a satellite campus is, the fact is that CBI over the years has discipled people in prison in, I think, over 110 countries. For many years, these courses were being taken through the mail, and they were sending them all the way back to the United States. And that's how it was 15 years ago when I started. And of course, that would mean a very lengthy time to complete a course because of that mail, and also very expensive for people in foreign countries to send them. So it's been our vision to actually start satellite campuses in the countries around the world and train church members in those countries to disciple the inmates in their country, rather than sending those lessons here and having Americans disciple their prisoners, right?
Right.
And so that's been the theory behind it. And so we started off in Canada, and then Australia, and then I think in Latin America, and it's just been going gangbusters. Now, why don't you, there's like 3 or 4 brand new ones that are emerging right now. The first one let's talk about is Puerto Rico, which is not another country. It feels like it to an American, but that is a territory of the United States. Tell us about Puerto Rico.
So for many years, since Spanish department started in CVI, all the Puerto Rico lessons went to a lady in Puerto Rico who would go into the prison, and she would give the lesson to the student. The difference is that back when this was happening, U.S. instructors were correcting the lesson, and she was only the messenger.
So she was sort of a point person. She would distribute the lessons and pick them up from the prisons, but then she would ship them all the way to the United States.
Right.
Oh,
right.
How long has that been going on? I wasn't even aware of that.
I think I would think 2 or 3 years ago, that's when it started. When
and then
we started doing it.
How did it develop to actually becoming its own center, meaning to actually train instructors to correct them right on in that territory?
Well, since the end of last year, Madeline Garcia, who's going to be the director there, she started to show some interest, because one of the things that was happening is that the lessons were delayed more.
Because of the distance to the United States?
Because of the distance, and because the process was lengthier. Here in the office, we needed to do a special process only for Puerto Rico students. So she knew that some students were finishing great truths of the Bible, and she started to get concerned because it would take a month or 5 weeks for the lesson to get there.
And that's because the Puerto Rico setup was entirely special. It wasn't in the normal factory process.
Right.
And so we had to set up its own, and then therefore it became more cumbersome.
So she started talking to some pastors in her church and some other churches. She reached out to people and she got a lot of support. She's a chaplain. She's a trained chaplain, so she's very familiar
A prison
with...
chaplain?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
So she's very familiar with how prisons works.
And she has direct access.
Right. Yes. So she is going to start a program into rehabilitation centers that they
What kind of centers?
drug rehabilitation
Oh, okay.
centers.
Rehabilitation. Yeah.
And she goes into the jails in Puerto Rico once or twice a month, depending on which jail.
Mhm.
So she's starting that, and in the halfway houses, she goes, I think, twice a week. And it's pretty neat because they have a set-up time on Wednesdays and Fridays that she goes and teaches. This is Great Truths of the Bible 1, and she starts teaching them.
Oh, does she actually teach them face to face?
Yep.
And then they complete the lesson on their own
Right.
and stuff? Wow, that's very powerful. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
going on in various places in the world, isn't it?
Yep. So that's very neat. She has, I think, 10 instructors already trained.
10 instructors, and so she picks up those lessons and distributes it. So she's kind of like the coordinator.
Right.
And she has instructors from the churches who are correcting the lessons.
And she has trained these instructors.
No kidding.
I think in 2 seminars, one in March and one in April that they held.
So they are up and running and on their way.
Yep.
Does she talk about the value of the program there in the Puerto Rican situation?
She really likes it because it can apply to anybody. If there is a drug offender, the drug offender can take benefit from it, as well as the person who is incarcerated. So
Right.
she really enjoys the program.
That is really, really cool. Very, very, very interesting. And now the students are getting their lessons back on a regular basis, and it's a much
Right.
more efficient process.
So now we're working in the office here at CVI. We're working on the transition to transition all the Puerto Rico students that we have here to go through the Puerto Rico office.
The instructors, do you know which churches they're part of? What denomination? Or
Some of them are Baptist, some of them are Pentecostal. So
same thing as here, all denominations, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, a wonderful thing. Have you ever been to Puerto Rico yourself?
What was that?
Have you ever been to Puerto Rico?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, I used to know missionaries there and stuff, and yeah, the gospel definitely is penetrating there. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, a lot of times mission agencies don't think so much about the prisons. I mean, they become the forgotten ones, and so we have found this little niche in the Great Commission to go into the prisons. What's the name of the director there?
Madeline Garcia.
Marlinga Sia.
Good enough.
Good. Yeah, with my Dutch accent, Dutch American accent, that's about as good as it gets.
So the interesting part is going to be when some of the Puerto Rico students who are in the United States get deported or something to Puerto Rico. Then they're going to have to start.
So
taking
do we
lessons
have
through
in the
them.
United States? Do we have Puerto Ricans in detention centers here?
Yeah.
How do they get here?
I don't know.
Amazing, because part of your program too are the Spanish students that are in this country, and most of those are in detention centers.
Sometimes they get transferred. That's what I've heard of. Madeline mentioned that she knows some students that are taking lessons through us that will end up being transferred to Puerto Rico.
She knows students that are in detention centers or prisons in the United States who are Crossroad students, and eventually they will be deported back to Puerto Rico.
I don't think deported is the right word because they are U.S. citizens, but they will get transferred eventually to Puerto Rico. So
That's right. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's weird. I mean, so how can you be illegally in your own country?
right.
We won't even try to approach that one. Okay, well, so that's Puerto Rico. That's a very, very exciting development.
Yep.
Let's go someplace else in the world. Isn't there another one starting up in Africa?
Yeah, Tanzania, it's starting up.
Tanzania.
Of all places.
Yes, I'm learning. My geography is expanding since I've been the president of Crossroad Bible Institute. But
So
let's talk
it's
about Tanzania. What kind of country is that? That's not a territory of the United States.
no. Tanzania is really far away. It's very close to it limits with Uganda and with Kenya.
So where are we? What side of Africa?
East.
The east side.
The east side of Africa. And we have a reverend there. His name is Norbert. He is a chaplain, and he was trying to implement some sort of program in prisons in Tanzania. I think Arusha is the city that he's located at. He was doing this, but he wanted to legitimize the program that he was doing more and more. And that's how he came to CVI and how he heard about us. So,
yeah, tell me more about that. He wanted to legitimize a program of discipleship.
right, because
So he was kind of just doing his own thing, but then he wanted to get connected with a well-known, structured organization, and this would benefit him. How? Because it would have more respect in the prisons among the staff and among the students, or what? How does that benefit him?
it would benefit him because he would have a structure, and the government would respect more a program that has already been established for many, many years. So he reached out to us, and he is very interested. They have trained at least 3 instructors already in Tanzania, and they're going to greatly benefit when the Swahili translation is completed. So far they're reaching out to students and instructors who can do English.
Okay, right. Yeah, a lot of folks don't realize how widespread English is in Africa
Right.
due to colonialization and all that. But English can get us quite a long ways there. Okay, well, that's just fascinating to hear that our program is just vastly respected around the world in various countries, and so they see that, and the more countries we're in, the more legitimacy it
Right.
provides, and our reputation sort of precedes us, and they're able to do that. But it's a win-win for us too, because to connect with someone who's already in the prisons, like a chaplain, we can get these centers up and running much more quickly, correct?
Yes.
Because otherwise you have to go through a lot of
Permit
hoops,
process and
the permit process with the government and so forth. So if we work with another prison ministry or with a chaplain, it works much better.
yes.
Well, that's fantastic, and we're going to go to other places around the country in just a few minutes, and so we'll be right back with Sandra Chang, International Coordinator for Crossroad Bible Institute, a globetrotter missionary, and we'll be right back after this.
Are you in prison? Do you know someone who is? Through CBI Bible studies and encouragement from CBI instructors, more than 40,000 people behind bars are learning the truth about salvation through Christ and are developing deeper relationships with God. For an enrollment form, please visit us online at cbi.fm.
Welcome back to Crossroad Connection. My name is David Schuring. I'm in the studio here today with Sandra Chang, and Sandra is our International Director, and she's giving us some updates on the rapid growth of the international ministry of Crossroad Bible Institute. It has just been growing phenomenally in the last 5-6 years. So now that we have satellite campuses in 24, 25 countries, we have 3-4 more that are emerging, and it seems like every year this program keeps growing, doesn't it?
Yes.
You told us about Puerto Rico. You told us about Tanzania. Is there something starting up anywhere else?
Well, we're starting. Well, we started this a few months ago in Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Just growing.
Just for the viewers' sake, where's Malaysia? That's we're talking about the Far East now, aren't we?
Yes, it's north of Australia and around Japan, a bit west of Japan. And
Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia, yes.
So we came from Puerto Rico to Africa I mean, we're literally all over the world, huh?
Yep.
Let's talk about Malaysia. How did we ever get connected with people in Malaysia?
Well, we have this wonderful director called Paul Tan.
Oh, Paul Tan.
He is
He's the miracle man,
he's the director of CVI Singapore,
right?
and he enjoys starting new things. He visited Malaysia last year, sometime in the fall, and he talked to Pastor Bobby John, who is in Kuala Lumpur, the capital in Malaysia, and they decided to give it a try, just like that.
So he just happened to have a contact there,
Yes.
and said, "Let's give it a shot."
So
And it took.
it took. They started in the Rainbow Home, which is a halfway house for women who are functions like a drug rehabilitation center, basically. So they started in December, and by February, they by March they have students in the Rainbow Home graduating from Great Truths of the Bible.
Wow. So that is very, very well established. Would they be using the courses in English or Mandarin there?
Some do it in English and some do it in Mandarin.
Okay.
I think it's half and half.
Okay, so it's wonderful that we have that available for both language groups.
And then they started a new home. They started in a new home, and I don't know the name, but it's the same thing for men. And they started that in March. So many of these students are already halfway through Great Truths of the Bible, which
Wow.
is encouraging. So.
Wow. And are they using instructors in Malaysia?
Yes.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
so these are not going back to Singapore?
No. These are all instructors, Malaysian instructors.
But Christian church members in Malaysia who have been trained and are CBI instructors.
Yep.
Now, in a place like Malaysia, one thing I didn't mention, but we mentioned it in Puerto Rico, they have to hand deliver the lessons. That must be true in Tanzania.
Yes.
And is that also true in Malaysia?
Sort of.
Can they use the mail there somewhat?
No, because what happens is that some of these instructors go to the halfway house and correct the lesson there.
Okay.
So it's not, they don't have a strict policy as many rehabilitation centers do. So in 1 week they complete Great Truths of the Bible 1, then it gets corrected, and then they do number 2. And many other instructors correct more than one lesson a week because they go to the home
Sure.
and correct 3 or 4 lessons of the woman, and then another one does the rest.
But they're also using letters of encouragement
Yes,
and so
yeah.
forth so that the discipleship piece happens.
Yes.
That sounds a little bit like, for example, here in West Michigan, the Holland Rescue Mission does it that way too, where they correct them and they go face to face with it. So there's different ways in which the program can work. Huh?
Yes.
Tell us more about Malaysia. What are the conditions there? What are the prisons like there?
I know that the 2 halfway houses that they're working on are just perfectly fine. I don't know about the jails because from what my understanding is that they're doing this while they wait for a prison permit. So they don't have access to prisons in Malaysia yet, and I understand that it's a lengthy process for them
So they work in rehabilitation centers, halfway houses, and jails.
Right.
And the next phase would be to actually get into the prisons.
Right.
Okay.
So
Well, have we had any response from the students in Malaysia yet? Have you heard
they
anything?
love it. They absolutely love it.
Do they?
They do. They do. They are very happy, and some of the women have seen their lives changed just from, Great Truths of the Bible and being able to read the courses in their own language. Many times this is Mandarin.
Yeah.
It just touches their heart. So
It doesn't just touch your heart and mine. That how the gospel is just something that touches lives everywhere. It's no respecter of persons. It does not indiscriminately blesses
yeah.
people everywhere. And now here we have these people in prison, people in jail in Malaysia. And that whole Southeast Asia ministry is expanding, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, we have students in Singapore, Cambodia.
Cambodia is growing, but it's growing more slowly than Malaysia.
Okay.
We're in Cambodia, and now they're going through the transition of becoming more independent from Singapore. So they have their own instructors, they have their own students, but it takes a bit longer for them to do the lesson processing. I understand that Cambodia is more underdeveloped than Singapore, so it just takes longer for them to go to the jail and deliver the lessons. So.
Yeah, right. Well, we've seen some tremendous pictures that came from there, and wonderful work that's being done. Last time I talked to Paul Tan, I guess he was looking at a contact in Japan. Has that developed any
Yeah,
further?
he's planning to go there sometime in the summer months to visit Japan and somebody in Thailand.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, we have lots more to talk about with what's going on in the world of CBI. And so stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Stay connected to what's happening at Crossroad Bible Institute with Crossroad Network News. This free magazine is designed to keep you informed and inspired about what Christ Church is doing in prisons and jails. If you'd like a free subscription to Crossroad Network News, fill out the form online by visiting us at cbi.fm.
Welcome back to Crossroad Connection. My name is David Schering. I'm talking with Sandra Chain here, all about what's going on in CBI around the world. And I think a few years ago, when people thought about Crossroad Bible Institute in the United States, they didn't think of it as an international missions agency, a world missions agency, because they knew that we were, saturating the United States and so forth. But behind the scenes, this international program has been going, and in the last few years, it has just exploded. And it's just been exciting to see. So increasingly, people are seeing Crossroad as a world missions agency, which is exciting, which is really, really exciting, because we want to reach people in prison everywhere with the truth of God's word and the love of God's people. And you have a real desire to do that too. There's another territory, United States, called Guam.
I know.
Don't we have some little sprouts coming up there?
Yes, there is this. Her name is Rose Van Engen, and she and her church heard about CVI and are hoping to start a program there sometime soon.
So we have some strong interest
Yes.
in Guam. Any other new one coming up right now that you'd like to share about?
Uganda.
Oh, tell us about Uganda. Back to Africa.
Yeah, Uganda. There is Pastor Wilberforce. He is also a chaplain.
Wilberforce?
His name is Wilberforce.
That's like that's a famous name in England. Probably maybe somebody named him that. I don't know.
His son is actually in Scotland doing his master's degree.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Wow. Yeah, Wilberforce was a tremendous influence for ending slavery, huh?
Right.
And so forth. Well, tell us about this famous director, Wilberforce.
He is a chaplain, and I think he's in charge of a few prisons in Kampala, in Uganda. I understand that's a capital. I am not sure. But he approached us before I came on board in August. Cynthia was already working with this partnership. And we just started, talking about this. How is this going to be feasible in Uganda? And he already has access to prisons because that's his job.
Okay.
So
once again, connections.
Right. So he has trained 6 instructors now, and we're just waiting to see what happens next when it comes to students and so. But we see that it's going to go well. I sent them materials, lessons, and stuff a few weeks ago, so they should be getting those in the mail. And as soon as they get those lessons, they will start working. So
Let's update our viewers a little bit on Nigeria. We were scheduled. Actually, I was invited to be there in April.
but you didn't go.
I didn't go for a pastors' conference. Our director there had over 200 pastors that wanted CBI to minister to them and to train them.
Right.
And so we were going to be sending our good friend Dr. Tim Spijkstra as an ambassador to conduct that. But then the United States earlier in the year issued a travel warning because of terrorism and danger there. There's conflict between Muslims and Christians, and we thought it best not to have that conference at this time, as 200 evangelical pastors could make quite a target. I know the pastors were disappointed, weren't they?
They were.
They were looking forward to us coming. Has the situation gotten calmer there yet? Is it looking possible that we're going to be able to, because we want to say that it's postponed, not canceled, right?
I don't know. I haven't talked to a chaplain in Sevier about this, but I haven't seen anything in the news about the situation improving in Nigeria at all.
It's a real hot spot down there in the southern portion, and they just say there should be no travel except if it's absolutely necessary. But our viewers could be praying about that, praying for peace and stability in Nigeria.
Also, they could pray for Chaplain Matthew and his family and
for their safety.
For their safety, and they're expecting their third child. So.
Oh, wow. Well, and this is actually the second satellite campus we have in Nigeria.
Because the first one was Pastor Suni Roberts. He's in River State, and he disciples to just one jail. And they have this work reentry piece that while they're incarcerated, they learn agricultural skills. So once they're released, they have
something they can fall back on. And now this new satellite campus, we trust, is going to be reaching into a lot more prisons and jails in the country of Nigeria. Let's talk about Guatemala. Just recently, I received an email. I don't know if that was from you or from someone else here, but saying that you have received an invitation to go to Guatemala.
Yeah, they are. They had to make some changes in their program because a year ago, what happened was that the program, as we know it, changed. Basically, instructors were going into the prisons to hand deliver the lessons and get new ones to the students.
Like in other countries.
Right. But the situation there, it's very dangerous for instructors to do that because of the gangs and stuff, the violence.
Yep.
So they stopped doing that. And Kim Heckman de Moran, who is the director there, she decided to start a new approach, which is discipling the prison guards.
Wow.
So
the students there are the corrections officers.
Exactly. So
that's pretty novel. That'd be one way to change maybe the culture of the prisons.
Right. And like she said, many of the prison officers that they are discipling through CVI get paid really little.
Sure.
So they are tempted to get corrupt.
Sure. Bring in drugs and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So it's more profitable to them. So they have a lot of the same struggles that the prisoners themselves do.
Wow.
So they are hoping that by September 27, they have the first class of this.
And I think, if I recall from the email, they're expecting 160 graduates. 160 prison guards are graduating from the CBI Great Truths of the Bible course, and they want you to be present for that graduation ceremony.
Imagine that, yeah.
And you speak Spanish, so that'll be
I do.
That won't be a problem. We only need a translator. So, well, and this will be later this year, and yeah, I'm looking forward to you going. You got to go, bring lots of pictures, and we need to maybe we'll have you on the program again to review that trip to Guatemala, because that sounds like a very, very worthwhile trip, and it'll mean a lot to them to have to have the international coordinator there, to be present, at their graduation ceremony. But 160 some prison guards.
They're hoping that after this, once they disciple the prison guards, it will be easier to get in the jail and disciple.
Oh yeah,
the
absolutely.
prisoners.
If you think about it, I don't know any place in the world where something like that is happening. I mean, because the relationship in this country too between prison guards or corrections officers, they prefer to be called, and prisoners, people in prison, there's a built-in tension there, and adversarial sort of relationship. But if we can change the hearts of the prison guards to soften them, they in turn will be treating the potential students, the prisoners, differently, and the gospel can work a wonderful transformation there.
Yeah.
Any last things? What could people be praying about before we close the show?
You could pray about provision for Tier 3 instructors, that we're going to need them in Africa. I know South Africa is starting their Tier 3 program, as well as
By
Kenya.
Tier 3, our college level program.
Yeah, the college level program. And so they're just hoping that they get the right people to do Tier 3.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Well, that's a whole other program, the development of our college program. But that's, Crossroad College International is something that we're dreaming about and we're seeing develop. And if you would like to know more information about the international program, the best place is to go right to our website, cbi.tv on the web. There's an international page there, but also right on the front page, where this program will be broadcast, also on cable TV throughout Michigan. But you can watch for press releases. We put out press releases about the latest things that are happening and stories. Also, you may want to sign up for our free newsletter. We have a monthly newsletter that you can sign up for. You can go right to the website, or you can write us at P.O. Box 900, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 40509. You can give us a call and sign up for a free newsletter, because we frequently have stories about what's happening on the international scene. There's just stories that will just grip your heart. I started off the program by reciting the Great Commission, and I hope that you feel involved in the Great Commission with your involvement at Crossroad Bible Institute. We welcome your support, your prayers, but especially we want you to just get involved. Don't just stay on the sidelines and watch, but get involved. Become an instructor, and you can use some more Spanish instructors, couldn't
Yes.
you? Yeah,
Yes.
people who don't understand Spanish, but also English, and it'll transform your life. My name is David Scheringa. Thanks for being with us, and we hope to see you again right here next week.